Good morning, Philippines. Big mabuhay around the world. Good morning, USA. We're there. I'm up early. I'm up early at 9 a.m. here in Manila, in the global city, BGC, Beneficio Global City. So we're just so glad to be here right now. And just wanted to give a shout out to everybody out there. And I know there's a lot of people in the US that are unhappy right now, and perhaps they want to move to the Philippines. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But you can take a look outside my window here. I'm located a couple miles from the airport in Manila, from Nino Aquino Airport in Manila. There's I'm in 6 a.m. How are you, Halham? And how you doing? I was actually up at like 7 or 8, but I don't know. I was just a little too tired to go live. And then I saw all these other people that on other channels that are talking to the US going live. And so I thought I'd get up there and see if there's anyone around. Yeah, I know. But I feel a lot better today. I feel pretty good today. I'm finally getting over that really nasty flu. I finally beat it down. So I mean, oh no, my connection is unstable. Really ridiculous. Okay, so I'm having connection problems again. I'm gonna have to move out into the living room if it continues for the next cast. But I want to get this really great view behind me. So, Halham, glad to see. I'm glad that you're up. And I'm out here to talk to everyone in the Philippines and talk about the U.S. and everyone in the U.S. It's Saturday night in the U.S. as opposed to Sunday morning. And so I know a lot of people in the U.S., it's winter right now. It's freezing. On the other channels are talking about how cold it is. So if you talk about the U.S. for my Filipino viewers, like places like New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, it's very cold. It's very cold, Halham, and it's very, very cold. It's winter time. So, you're talking like 20 degrees, 30 degrees. I don't know what that is in Celsius, but it is cold, cold, cold. So everyone is looking at the Philippines and they're looking at other places because it's warm, warm. But, no matter where you live, the weather changes and, but as far as people being unhappy, if that's what you're asking, Halhaman, it's just that a lot of people in the U.S., they have a big divorce in the U.S., 50% divorce rate in the U.S., and a lot of people don't have families in the U.S. A lot of people lost. For a lot of our Filipino listeners, they don't realize that, during the last 10 years, America has really been changing quite a lot. And if you're in the U.S. listening, you know what I'm talking about. And that's why you have a lot of foreigners moving to the Philippines in places like Dumaguete, Davao, Cebu. I know a lot of people are moving into those areas. And so maybe a lot of Filipinos are wondering why. And part of it is that, America's changed a lot in the past 10 years, economically and also socially. A lot of people aren't very happy. And mainly because, there are not many jobs. I mean, they say there's a lot of jobs, but at least for me, there's not too many good jobs in the U.S. anymore. There's a lag. Yeah. Sorry, Halhaman. Sorry about that. When I signed, when I did this, it said it was going fine. Let me try and I might have to go in the room. I might have to go in the living room. I don't understand why there's a lag. I'm doing a speed test now. I did a speed test before I went on. Let's see what the upload is. Oh man. Oh, it's saying uploaded 56. Oh, it's okay, Haman. Okay. I mean, I don't know. It seems like I have a 56 upload, so it should be okay. But I mean, next time maybe I'll just have to go in there and check out the connection in there in the living room. I'll do the Ethernet. But anyway, back to the topic. For my Filipino viewers, and I don't know if anyone in the U.S. is listening, but a lot of people, especially older men, are unhappy. I don't know. The older men seem to be leaving America and moving to the Philippines more than the women. But the older men in their 50s and 60s, things like that. And I can just talk a little bit about that. But that was many years ago when I got married in 12 years ago now, and it was just very hard to find a wife in the U.S., to find someone who wanted to get married and wanted to have children. There are women out there that will do that and that want to do that in the U.S., but not very many. They're not very happy doing that. And overall, too, I mean, everyone just doesn't seem to really want to be friends, or they don't really want to be friends with each other. And so, like, when you come to the Philippines, and I'm not trying to say the Philippines is a perfect place, because the Filipinos know it's not a perfect place. But at least people try to make you happy. They try to smile. They try to laugh. They're not, suspicious or angry. The U.S. is very unhappy right now, and there's a lot of angry people. They're not very happy with their lives or what's happening. And it wasn't always that way. When I grew up as a kid, many they would smile and things like that. But man, it's hard to get someone to smile in the U.S. right now. Very, very hard. And that's because of a lot of broken relationships, a lot of money problems, and things like that. And like I said, the Philippines is not a perfect place, and a lot of people know that. But the Filipino people, they prove that they're just very happy. They try to be happy. They try to overcome things, and just be happy for the day. And the U.S. they've lost that loving feeling. They don't really care for each other and love each other like they should. And so, I mean, I think that's part of the reason you see a lot of older Americans, at least men, moving to the Philippines. But Halhaman was asking me what's happening in the U.S. Well, what's happening right now, as far as weather, is I saw on these other channels people really complaining about how cold it is, really, really, really cold in the U.S. And so if you talk about the U.S. and the Midwest, it's very cold. I mean, freezing weather. I mean, really, really cold stuff. And I think they just had a storm move through. And then also up in Canada, it's extremely cold up in Canada right now. And I know my wife's friend who's living and working in Canada. They have a great family, great kids, but they're looking to move back to the Philippines too. It's cold. Really cold weather is really, really really, really hard to deal with. The cold weather. It's really, really hot here. And yeah, my connection just keeps saying unstable. Yeah, I'm really gonna have to just connect with the wire next time. I got to reset this computer and try it again. But in any event, yeah, I see all the other people talking, and they're like, "We're gonna move to the Philippines." So I mean, I don't remember this 10 years ago when I married my wife. In Hawaii, there's a lot of Filipinos, and so when people say they're moving back to the Philippines, it's not unusual. There's a lot of Filipinos that spend their lives in America, and they're always planning to move back. But for U.S. citizens, not U.S. citizens, but for U.S. born Americans, or whatever you want to say, that are not Filipino, non-Filipino. It was, unless you were military, in my opinion, it was very unusual for an American to move to the Philippines. Now I know the Germans. Well, Germans move quite frequently throughout Asia, but not too many expats, moving from America. And now maybe there were, but now there seems to be a lot more. And so it seems like in Dumaguete, they got a lot of people down there, and they prefer not to live in a big city or whatever. To me, I prefer being in Manila. I know that the traffic is bad or whatever, but to me, Manila has a lot to offer. I mean, that's just my opinion. I love Manila. I really, really do. And I think it looks fabulous right now. It looks great. I mean, they've cleaned up a lot around in Manila. And I know the other cities had orders to clean up as well. So I know there were a lot of, when I first came, and that was a couple of times 10 years ago, it seemed like the streets and everything weren't as clean. But man, now you go around, it's pretty clean. Um, and, for visitors and stuff and for residents, I think they're really happy with that. And it seems there's also money coming into the Philippines, a lot of nice houses going up, more neighborhoods and things like that. So, I mean, really, amazing that how the Philippines is changing. Now, I was listening to the other channel, and they want to, like, they're saying, "Oh, Vietnam." I'm like, listen, I'm a Christian, I'm Catholic, and I really prefer to live in a Christian or Catholic country. That's just the way I am. Now, I don't mind a Buddhist country or something like that, like Japan. But Vietnam, with its communist history, I don't know if I really would like to live there. I mean, that's just my opinion. I really like to live in a Buddhist or Christian being number one. That's what I prefer, and because I think it's a different kind of society. And now I'm not putting down Vietnam. I have nothing against Vietnam, but I wouldn't be really that interested in moving to Vietnam unless someone offered me, a lot of money or a lot of, a big time job. It just wouldn't really interest me that much. I prefer, a Christian democratic country. I mean, that's just what I prefer right now. I just think it produces a different kind of person and society and culture. I mean, that's just my opinion. But I mean, I hear people love Vietnam, but yeah, it's really not for me. I love the Philippines because it's sort of a really good mix between Asia and America, and and it's not just the culture itself, like the American culture, its familiarity with English. The Filipinos, with their culture, they get a lot of things that are Western or are American. They get the humor. They kind of like when you talk to them and you like are upset about something, they can kind of understand what you're talking about. Intuitively they understand what's happening, and they agree with a lot of what you're thinking or if something's wrong. In other countries, you're not really going to get that in India or even Vietnam or China. As the Filipinos say, you don't understand me. They understand Americans. They understand American culture. They understand the thinking behind American culture, and and they know how to deal with it a lot better than in another Asian country. I like I said, I've worked with a lot of Asians, and I don't. It's very difficult especially if you're a Westerner, to go to Asia. It's a very different mentality. Even Filipinos, so if you're married to a Filipina, you have to understand they're not all Western. Their English may be great. They laugh and they smile. They laugh at your jokes and things like that, but they act differently. And so, like one of the things, and I'll do another video on that is tempo. And just when they get upset about something, they'll get quiet or, they'll make a face or something. And so in America, we're taught from a very young age that's it, right? But in in the U.S., we consider that to be mainly kind of a childish behavior. So like I remember saying to my wife, "What are you doing? Why are you acting like a baby? Why are you acting like a child?" But that's the way they're taught, and you're not going to change it. You can say later on, man, that's really a drag what you do. It's just, why are you acting like that? But all they're looking for is recognition that they're upset, that they've been offended in some way. And they just want someone to say, I understand. I was in the, you rub their back and they go, okay. It's, and that isn't just for the Philippines. That's all of Asia, where people, their feelings can be hurt rather easily with a comment. Or if you say something in front of somebody that's too honest. Yeah, like, my wife was really bothering me today. They'll be like, in the US, like I said, people are unhappy because maybe we're woke up on the wrong side of the bed today. For a lot of Asians, that will be too direct. You're embarrassing them publicly. And I think that's probably one of the biggest disconnects in between American and Filipino culture, is this idea of, public respect and also private respect. And I think most of the arguments will come over that. And the best thing to do is not even to fight over it. If I could give a recommendation, I don't even know how many Phil Am couples are going to be watching this. It's basically just to go, okay. And just pat her on the shoulder and talk to her later. The other way just doesn't work when, hey, you're acting like a baby, you're getting me angry. For Filipino men, they're kind of used to it. When Filipinos get in a mood like that, it's better you just like go, okay, I'll see you later. And because there's no talking to them. Sometimes you can try consoling them, but if they're angry about something, it's better just go, hey, see you later. And you know what? It usually disappears like in 5 or 10 minutes. Now, if they're really upset about something, it can last a little bit longer. But, I kind of digress here a little bit. What I was really going on here is that, maybe you want to move to the Philippines, and I don't know how many men. It seems to be mainly men. To me, it's a lot. It's mainly because, men and women in the U.S. are having trouble finding relationships. But it seems mainly men who are looking outside the U.S. Now, if you watch 90 Day Fiancé on TLC, there happens to be a lot of women now that are looking outside the U.S. too. And so that really speaks to kind of this relationship problem in the U.S. where people don't really trust one another and they don't love one another. And I know a lot of people, love. Well, listen, I see a lot of channels out there and they go, these Filipinas, they want to control you. When you come to the country, they want to latch on to you, take you and hold you and not let anyone else see you. And part of that is because, sure, that you're a Westerner and you have some money. Okay, big deal. Whatever. It's also because they believe in love and they don't want anyone to steal you, or take you away from them. That's part of it too. That they believe in love and they believe in this connection between people, between a man and a woman. And they believe in that. In the U.S., a lot of people, I asked my friend Jerry, and this was a long, long, long time ago. I said, why is everyone unhappy and no one likes each other? He goes, because they don't believe. I was like, well, don't believe? Believe in what? And he was just like, well, they don't believe in love. They don't believe in each other. And that's one thing in any relationship is if you don't believe in the other person or you don't believe in the relationship, it'll just destroy itself. Like if you believe they're cheating on you or they're using your money or, they're not working hard enough or they're not doing their job or whatever it is, you need to have, faith and understanding in that person, or else it's not going to work. But most importantly, you have to believe in love. And in my opinion, and many people will probably disagree with me in the U.S., it's mainly because people have too many relationships. By the time they're 30, men and women have gone through 4 or 5 relationships, and some of them are adult relationships, and people are worn out. I'll be honest with you. One marriage is wearing me out. you know, and I don't mean in a bad way, but marriage has its ups and downs, and when you get married, it's different. It's, the person you wake up to the next day is different than the person you got married to the day before. And what I mean by that, expectations change, things change, and they change over years and they change over time. It's just the way marriage is. But Filipinos are willing to make that commitment, and for them to have a relationship that goes to marriage, or have a steady relationship period, is the norm for them. Now, I've been hearing lately that there's a lot of cheating that goes on, especially with the men. But in my opinion, the women really want a steady relationship. But in the U.S., you bounce from one relationship to the next. And like me, when I was looking for a wife, I really wasn't interested in getting married until I was in my 30s. And all of a sudden, they talk about women having tick, 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 the time bomb, or the clock. I don't want to say a time bomb, but the clock is ticking or whatever. And for me, I don't know if they, in the U.S. they call it male menopause, but I think I was too young for male menopause. But in my 30s, I was like, man, I want to get married. I want to have a kid. I had this, this feeling that time was like running out, and I got it in my head. I got to get married. I got to meet someone. I got to do this. So, and I just felt like that. But when I started looking, to the way America is right now, a lot of kids, a lot of people that you're meeting come from divorced families. A lot of people out there have been divorced once or twice. And now they're just living with one another because it's easier just to get your stuff and move out than it is to get married and go through all the legal proceedings. It's easier just to say you're living with each other, but in some states you become man and wife anyway under common law. So, like, one of the reasons I think everyone is so unhappy in the U.S. is people aren't there for each other, and the other thing too is that people aren't willing to accept people for who they are. And what that means is that none of us are perfect. All of us make mistakes. Now, I'm not saying like someone did something really bad, but what I'm saying is, a lot of people wake up in the US one day and go, I'm not happy. I'm going to do something else. Well, if you multiply that by 1 million people, that's 1 million unhappy people that are making another 1 million unhappy people, making another 1 million unhappy people just because they want to change. And then how's the other person feel? They feel like garbage. Well, I'm leaving. I don't like you anymore. I mean, this is not middle school anymore. I mean, this is like people that have been together for 10 or 20 years, maybe even 5 years. It's devastating. And I have to say, in many cases, it's not just the women leaving, it's the men. Maybe they go for a younger woman or what have you, and it's, when you're a woman in America in your 30s and 40s, it's really, really hard. You know, so I mean, we have all this going on with a lot of people that have lost their jobs, they've lost their families, and then if they get divorced with all their kids, of unhappy people. And so, like, maybe you are in the business now of trying to look for a new way. And we got a lot of people moving to the Philippines. And I'm wondering, for Filipinos, when they hear Americans moving to the Philippines, of course they're happy because they love their country and they love foreigners moving here. For the most part, I wouldn't say all foreigners, but I mean people that respect the Philippines and love Filipinos and obey the law. They love them having him here. And they're probably wondering because America to them is the shining star. Why would they want to move? And if you told them, well, I mean, a lot of Filipinos don't know the U.S. economy really isn't that great. It's not like it was when I was a kid. I mean, look at all the stores that are going bankrupt. J.C. Penney, Sears, everything is just disappearing. I mean, those jobs would be something like, if you wanted something to work at, you could still do that. Or even, working in it. You can't even get a decent job. I mean, I'm here in the Philippines now, so it doesn't really matter. But someone said the other day that, oh, the U.S. economy is doing great. I'm like, well, yeah, I've only been gone a couple of months. But I, look up just a job as a bank teller. Most of them are part-time. You can't live in the U.S. on a part-time job. Not anymore. So, I mean, economically and also socially, it's really hard. And you have to really feel for the kids of the U.S. that are growing up in this environment. They're just really suffering. But hey, it's not a perfect place, but it's a nice place. The Philippines is a nice place. The weather here is going to get really hot and muggy soon. But the one thing that endears this place is the Filipinos. And especially if you have a Filipino wife, you can, come here and get your resident card and maybe work online. I know there's a ton of people that don't even have Filipino wives that move here. The visa requirements seem to be, pretty easy. And a lot of people are working online. A lot of people, are older Americans that are, have their Social Security already and, are coming here. And, they're looking for a bond, for a connection. And that's what, that's what human beings want, is a bond or a connection. And we're not finding that in America anymore. But you can here. I mean, you can find a lot of people that will invite you over their house. They'll, invite you out to eat or what have you. And I think, we used to call it home cooking. We're going home for some home cooking. I've been working. And and you used to go home for the holidays and you used to feel good because people cared about you. And maybe that's what I'm really getting down here is that, people in the Philippines, they go and they try to care about you. They'll bring you a small gift. They'll say hello. Yes, sir. No, sir. How are you, sir? Or hey, if they know you, hey, you want to come over, have a beer or something like that. And that's their nature. That's the Filipino nature. For most of them are very hospitable. And of course, they love food. And that's the other thing we're missing in the U.S. Nobody cooks anymore. And, women, because they're working as well, and I'm not trying to put any blame on them or anything, but in the old days, women, used to do most of the cooking in the house. And, men really haven't adapted to that, when women don't cook. And so now we just have no one that cooks. Everyone's working, no one cooks. And it's just frozen food or people eat out. And that's another factor of why people, listen, I had to lose weight. Eating out in America is like a death sentence. You pay a lot of money and it's all fat and salt and sugar. So, we're, coming to the Philippines, you still get home cooked meals. You'll have people invite you over. And I guess they call it the boodle fight. And my wife went out last night and she goes, I want to move closer to my friend. I want to move closer to my friend. And that's one of the things, if you live in Manila, man, if you're just even 10 miles from somebody, man, it's hard to get around. But to me, it's no different than New York or LA or some other place. To me, it's the same thing. But anyway, if you are in the U.S. and you're unhappy, hey, man, think about moving. Think about moving to the Philippines. And not just to Dumaguete or to Cebu. Move to Manila. Move to where the action is. Move to the center of the Philippines. Well, I'll see you next time. I have to go out and enjoy this great weather. Take care, and I'll see you soon. And good luck to all. I know that my football team, the Giants, they're in bad shape. But, we have some football championships. I'm going to try to get up and watch them. And what do we have? We have the Packers versus the 49ers. And we be rooting for the Titans. And I'll be rooting for Aaron Rodgers to go back. He deserves it. He's an older guy. Let him go back and win a championship. I'll see you guys later and take care and move here soon. Bye-bye.